Oh my God. I feel like we haven't done this in a million years.
I know. I was setting all my stuff up and I was like, what is going on? Where did things go? I don't
Right.
remember.
Welcome to the Incoherent Fangirl.
Where we are taking a break from our break for something insane.
Insane.
We need to be pinched.
I am Karin,
And I'm Mandy.
and on this very special episode, we are both from Tallinn,
But alas, we don't have the ability to jump bodies.
but we do have the ability to jump timelines. And in our timeline, it is June 29th, and this is going to sound crazy, but in y'all's
It's
timeline,
trippy.
it is July 21st. Yeah, let that sink in a second.
We're
It
recording a little
confuses
bit
me a little.
early.
But there's good reason for it.
Ah!
Anyways, this week in fangirling, I think we decided we're just gonna pick like our top reads since we've been on break.
Yeah, we're going to do one.
Because otherwise we'll be here for a really long time.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much more reading I get done when I don't have to edit a podcast.
I know. Yeah.
All right,
I still read about the
what's
same
your top?
amount. So
What was your top read?
you're gonna love this because you got it for me. The lovely war so far.
Yay!
So if you remember, listeners, we had our friend Logan from Once Upon a Book Club come on, and she recommended it as one of her favorite books, best book she's ever read, and it stands up to that. I have a blog post on it and I'm gonna refer back to it, kind of tell you about it because it's been like a month. Okay, so Logan mentioned that it starts with Aphrodite and Ares and they're like stealing away into like this swanky hotel in Manhattan in 1942. And somebody's in there's like a bellhop who is actually Hephaestus in disguise, and that is Aphrodite's husband. And so he's like, hey, hi, what the hell is going on here? And he captures them and he's like, I'm gonna take you to Mount Olympus and you're gonna stand trial for this. And so Aphrodite says, well, let me tell you what is going on. Let me tell you why. And then she starts in on this random story about four people during the World War One. So it's like the whole book is like, where are we going with this? And the ending is really beautiful. But the main story, we have four main characters: James Aldridge, Hazel Windicott, Aubrey Edwards, and Colette Fournier. They're all in the same orbit during World War One in Europe. So James and Hazel are English. James is a soldier. Hazel is like a volunteer at the YMCA because she wants to do her part. Aubrey is actually a Black American who is like a very talented musician, and he is part of the war. I think he was drafted. I'm pretty sure he was drafted, but instead of being on the front lines, he is like part of a band, and they are going around to entertain, soldiers and volunteers, and they're treated as you would expect for Black troops in 1917. He's wonderful though. We stand Aubrey forever. And then Colette is a French girl who is also a volunteer. She and Hazel become friends. Hazel meets James right before he goes to where he's stationed, and she goes to where her volunteer efforts are. So Hazel knows James, Hazel knows Aubrey, and Colette. Hazel kind of pulls everyone together, and the story is told from the point of view of all of the gods. So it's interesting because you have chapters by Aphrodite where she's telling it, and they're very like romantic and very emotion forward. When Ares is talking, it's very war and facts and data. Apollo is kind of just he's just, it's Apollo. And Hades talks about death a lot. So if there's a death even around the main characters, Hades is there. And it's so crazy to me how well Julie Berry can write these perspectives where even if you don't read the top, like the chapter heading, you still know exactly who is speaking just by the voice.
Right.
So yeah, she's a mastermind.
I love it. Oh, I can't wait to read it.
And then I did put this in my blog. A few chapters in, I looked at Josh and I was like, oh, this book is gonna break me. I can feel it. I'm gonna shut up, but I do need to give some trigger warnings just because always. There are general war descriptions, including battlefield descriptions and some gore. I was able to read it, so it wasn't insane gore, but it was there. Sexual assault. It does not result in rape, but it's still an assault. Racism, like I said, one of the main characters is a Black soldier in the 19 teens, and he and his regiment are frequently target of racism, racially motivated crimes, hate crimes, and then general grief and trauma. So have a box of tissues ready. Absolutely. Logan did me a solid by recommending this, and you did me one by giving it to me for my birthday. So thank you. All right. What's your number one book you've read?
It should come as absolutely zero surprise to anybody. The number one book I read this month, I guess, is Immortal Longings by Chloe Gong. It is her adult debut. It is an Antony and Cleopatra inspired book that is set in like a fantasy world. The twin cities of Son-Er used to be two separate cities that had their own rulers until Calla Tuolini. I hope I'm saying that right.
That's how I read it.
Okay, good. She murders her parents in cold blood, and she was the princess of and then she had to go on the run. But the king of King Casa, told everybody that she was dead. And so she's been on the run and in hiding for like 5 years, and now finally her fake name has been drawn for the King's Games, which is very Hunger Games-esque, where you've got a whole bunch of competitors who enter, and it's a fight to the death, and whoever wins gets prizes and money and all of that fun stuff. And it's very like it's a dystopian kind of society where everybody is kind of not doing great. And then you have Anton Makusa, who is basically her like fiercest competitor in the games. And he was like a palace brat in King Casa's like palace before everything happened, but now he's in exile. And he also entered under a false name, and he is trying to win the prize money to help somebody that he cares about. Calla just wants to win because it's the only time that King Casa, who is very reclusive and hides in the palace, shows his face, and she just wants to finish what she started and destroy the royal line. And so they team up to kind of try to get to the end, and things happen, and they, start, there's things, and then they're like, uh-oh, priorities changing, maybe? We have to figure that out, because only one of them can survive the games. So it's a good time.
Ooh.
And Chloe can do no wrong in my mind.
No, she can't.
As we all know, I am a huge Chloe Gong fangirl, and it's the first book. I know. Could not tell at all. It is the first book in a trilogy, and like I said, it's her adult debut, and it does get a little bit spicy in there, which I was excited about. Like, I was like, oh, Chloe, girl, you really went for it. So that was my favorite book that I've read in June, essentially, because that's the last time we recorded.
That is so crazy.
I know. And now it's the end of June. Crazy.
All right. What about a fictional boyfriend of the June?
Of the June. My fictional boyfriend of June is Kenji Kishimoto.
If you had said anybody else, I was going to come through the screen.
There's no competition. I'm sorry. So obviously I read the Shatter Me series this month, and Kenji, like, Mandy was worried I was going to come for Aaron, and I'm like, no, babe. Kenji's my man.
I knew you were going to love Kenji.
Kenji is my heart and my soul. And anybody who has anything bad to say about Kenji can catch these hands. I love
Karin
him.
thought she was going to take a Shatter Me break, and then she realized that the next novella was from Kenji's and she was like, wait.
Yeah. I was like, I was like, I'm going to finish this, and then I have like a couple arcs that I have to read, and then I will finish the series. And then I like logged it, and it was like blah 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 Kenji, and I was like, oh, absolutely not. Finishing the rest of this.
So good. Tahara Mafi has like, I don't know how she does what she does. She's a mastermind.
Magic. Yeah. Love her. Amazing. Cannot wait for the special Fairy Loot editions.
I know.
I'm gonna lose my mind.
I know.
Yay. So who was your fictional boyfriend of June?
So I have a repeat, but it's because Josh and I went to Memphis a few weeks ago, and on the way home, I put on the Fourth Wing audiobook, and now I just want an excuse to show off this beautiful German edition.
It is
So we're
beautiful.
gonna go with Zayden Ryerson again. God, I love that man. He's just
The moment I found out he was narrated by Teddy Hamilton,
yeah.
I love Teddy Hamilton. I will listen to anything that man reads.
Look, Josh reads, he doesn't read anymore. He's not a reader. He read Goosebumps when he was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he liked the Goosebumps books, but the last like books that he like paid attention to were Harry Potter years ago, right? I put this book in and things start happening, and he like at one point like there's a twist and he's like did blah 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 did blah 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 just happen? So like he's even gotten invested. So like if that tells you anything about how good this book is, that it got a non-reader hooked. Because normally if I put an audiobook in, he immediately goes to sleep.
Right.
Has no use for any of it. But
it is I'm starting it tomorrow, and I'm gonna finish it tomorrow because I will be at work in the office, so I'm just gonna let it run, and it'll be probably my last book of June.
Yeah, you're gonna love it.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So good.
I've been looking forward to it. I had to get through all of Shatter Me first. It was the rule. I made a promise.
Yeah. Iron Flame has gone up for pre-order, right? And Waterstones posted their exclusive edition. They didn't even post photos yet, I don't think. And within hours it sold out.
Oh my god.
I got one because I was just like, I'm gonna go ahead and order this now that I see it.
Of course.
People are like going insane. There are so many people in a group that I'm in where they're like, my library got the sprayed edges copy, and I'm begging them to let me like buy a non-sprayed edge copy and
replace it. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's bonkers.
It's wild. So yeah, Zayden, Fourth Wing.
Good times. And that sound means we have an intruder alert.
This is the craziest intruder alert I think we've had so far.
Y'all are not going to believe me when I tell you we are getting to sit down and talk with the queen of my bookshelf, Chloe Gong. Hello.
Chloe, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
I'm so excited to be here. I'm ready. I've come in with my ski mask and my bat, or whatever it is that intruders come in with.
I love it.
I love it.
Yes.
It is so crazy that you are here. I don't think I've ever been this nervous to interview anybody in my life.
No, I'm chill. There's no need to be nervous. I might have a baseball bat, but otherwise I'm chill.
I will say I was nervous until I saw you, and you're such like a calming presence. Like you're just like, you are chill. So it's like, okay, I can be chill.
We can do this.
I'm also very incoherent. So, you know.
Yes, you fit right in.
Yeah, exactly.
So your latest book that is coming out is Immortal Longings. And so for anybody who doesn't know, which is impossible if they're listening to this podcast because I'm constantly talking about you, give us like the quick elevator pitch of the book.
Okay, so Immortal Longings is my adult debut. It is the first of a trilogy, and I kind of pitch it as, imagine if Clove and Cato from the Hunger Games had been the main characters, and then the movie franchise was directed by Wong Kar-wai, who is, you know, the infamous Hong Kong director of In the Mood for Love, among others. And that kind of gets at the general atmosphere of it. But plot-wise, it is inspired by Antony and Cleopatra following a criminal princess who is trying to win a set of games in order to kill her uncle, the king, so she can bring down the entire monarchy. And when she teams up with an exiled aristocrat in order to win the games faster, she finds that things get a little bit complicated because she doesn't really want to kill her new ally, but only one person can win these games. They have very, very different goals, and they will eventually have to choose their own goal or this person that they care about, but ultimately will have to battle against.
Oh, no.
There's the elevator pitch.
Everything. It's everything.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So I want to know, what was it about, like, what is it about Shakespeare that just prompted you? Like, I want to write these retellings. I think that this is my go-to.
I accidentally stumbled into the Shakespeare retellings niche because when I started with These Violent Delights, my YA debut, originally the idea had just been I wanted to write a blood feud and I wanted to write about two families at war with each other with no specific cause. But the more I worked at that idea and the more I developed it in the setting of like 93 Shanghai and gangs, I was just sitting there like, okay, well, everyone's gonna say this is just Romeo and Juliet. Like they're gonna say you've done Romeo and Juliet in a modern day setting. Because I was so aware of what the comparisons would be, it made so much sense to kind of do a retelling. Because then I'm
Okay.
facing, the Shakespearean comparisons, but in an intentional way that I'm kind of putting a spin on it, and that spin is what makes it new. Because I had already done that with my YA debut, I slid into a comedy
Right.
retelling for my spinoff. It was just, it was right there. The character Rosalind shared a name. I was like, okay, that works. And then when I got the idea for what would then become Immortal Longings, I was thinking, look, Antony and Cleopatra as a play have so much good material for, two characters constantly battling it out, despite what they claim is love between them. And at that time in college, I'd been taking a Shakespeare class that was comparing Antony and Cleopatra to Romeo and Juliet a lot, in the sense that they are both star-crossed lovers, but Antony and Cleopatra are what happens when it's inherently an adult relationship, because it's about power, it's about obsession. Romeo and Juliet are about youth. It's about like hope in the midst of all of these external circumstances that you can't control. And I sat there with my little evil hands thinking it would be so meta if I've debuted into YA with Romeo and Juliet and I debut into adult with an Antony and Cleopatra retelling, because everything is so in conversation with each other. Like on a very meta level, it's almost as if I'm writing a These Violent Delights AU, and my work is in conversation with itself as well as being in conversation with Shakespeare. And I just love that element of retellings. Like
Yeah.
there is this whole new layer that like my English major brain is like, oh my God, someone could study this in class one day. Someone could actually write a thesis on where the connecting points are. And my work isn't just that story itself, it's that whole body of work. So that's the appeal.
That's amazing.
That is
That
so
is that
cool.
is really crazy to think about.
And it's crazy to think about that you had these ideas at such a young age. You were a sophomore in college, right? When you had these
Yes.
Violent Delights, that whole
Yes.
idea. Where did this come from? Like how could we get some of this creative genius?
Well,
Like
I didn't have a life. That's where it comes from. My only hobby growing up in high school was writing, because my only other hobby was reading. Like I
Relatable.
really mean this genuinely. Like reading and writing was my favorite thing to do. I treated it as a hobby more so than something that I was actually pursuing, and that meant throughout all the years I had no pressure on myself whatsoever, and I was just creating and creating and creating. Which is why I think I got to a point where it was like I was just writing so much to find enjoyment outside of academia, because otherwise school was just so intense all the time that I was like, oh, my little fictional world gives me joy.
Look,
I love that.
that's a perfect reason.
Yeah, it works out.
So in Immortal Longings, we have this. To me, it's a unique game, even though you did mention the Hunger Games. It is a unique game that I haven't read before.
Mhm.
And we just had, I know you're close with Alex Astor, and she put out Lightlark, which is also a unique game. They are so different from each other. But did you guys like bounce ideas off of each other when you were writing?
We didn't, because Alex had
Really?
written Lightlark before we met. And I was writing Immortal Longings. It would have been my senior year of college. So I didn't know Alex by then, but we weren't in contact as much as we are now because we live so close together. But when I was still in college, it was COVID. We really just were
Right.
not going outside. So there really wasn't that much like back and forthness, but it is fun that now we kind of use the same comp, which is really interesting to me too, because I think the both of us use it given that it is the most familiar with people like in publishing. If I could, I would also comp Mortal Longings to Battle Royale instead. But less
Yeah.
people know about Battle Royale than the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
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 What was it like? Like, did you consciously have to shift your thinking when writing Immortal Longings versus These Violent Delights because it is adult, or was the process kind of just the same, just add in some more adulty things?
Great question. I definitely had a process shift from the very beginning, I would say, on the level of tone and themes and just that basic conception of the book idea. But as far as how the book itself came together, I find that my craft and my writing style remains very, very similar to my YA. I really don't think I changed much about the way I tell a story, which some people assume that YA is like simpler or something in the way that you use language, and I really think that's bullshit, because
Yeah.
YA can be written really, really intensely in the same way that adult can be written really, really simplistically. It's nothing that kind of is intrinsic to that age category. What I thought about was, are these like central themes in the book more adult focused or more teenage focused? And if so, then that entire book feels like it's being written for an adult. So because I knew like from the get-go, Immortal Longings wasn't a coming of age or anything, it was grown people kind of just living a very grown, messy, chaotic life, and morals were just kind of like non-existent. I was like, this doesn't feel like a teenage story to me. This is the first adult story I've kind of come up with, because I have phased out of my coming of age and I'm in my I'm a grown up now phase. So it was very clear to me from the beginning that just the general tone would be adult.
What's
What
that
is your
like,
writing
feeling
process
adult?
like in that? Yeah. Like, are you a pantser? Are you a plotter?
I am a plotter, but I'm a very chaotic plotter, where I will outline things extensively and have a whole document of everything the book needs to be. Then I write the book, and then I change the entire book. So I plan very, very, very like much. And yet so much of the plan will eventually get completely Frankensteined up into something else for whatever it takes. Like I'm not afraid to kind of rip my book apart into shreds and redo it, because if it makes it stronger, it makes it stronger.
Absolutely.
How do you live through writing all the angst that you put into your books?
It's
Because
so much
it's
fun.
it's like, do you feel the angst, or are you just like
I do. I absolutely feel the angst. And I think it's good that I feel the angst, because if I didn't, I wouldn't know if it works or not. My first test is that I have to be my own target audience first. So if I'm writing angst and I don't feel like my heart is like clenched tight, then it's not good enough. I need to do it again. It needs to be better. In the same way that like sad scenes, I'm like, if I myself am not going through what I want that reader to go through, it's not enough. It's not there yet. So I'm my first test subject.
that makes a lot of
It's, I don't
sense.
know if it gave me angst, but I felt like white hot rage. And I don't want to give away spoilers, but there is a point where someone says something over speakerphone and directs something, and my jaw hit the floor and I got hot. And I was like, how dare, how dare you? And
I
so,
love
like,
it.
yeah, you do a
I
good
love
job of
it.
getting the emotions going, because I wanted to punch somebody. I really
So
did.
happy to hear it. That's what I want.
You made me want to punch someone.
It happens a lot with Chloe's books, I feel like. Just
Yeah.
like, mm,
Inducing violence. That's
yeah,
what I
yeah.
like.
We're fans of it here.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Good, good, good.
There's a very unique aspect of Immortal Longings in that there's a specific gene that some
Mhm.
people have that gives them a special ability to jump bodies.
Mm.
Where did that come from? How did you develop that, and what
Mhm.
that would look like?
From the get-go, I kind of knew that I wanted Immortal Longings to feel like a very complete mashup of genres or just influences that feel like they shouldn't really go together, right? So the setting is the Kowloon walled city from, 90s Hong Kong, merged with the rise of the Roman Empire, which is just two completely distinct time periods. But I really like mashups. I really like this complete, swirl of influences and seeing what is similar between them and what is so different and what kind of still works. So the ability of jumping was something that I kind of brought in as a play on fantasy magic systems. But the idea of chi as your soul, something that exists in you as a person and in inanimate objects in small amounts, comes from ancient Chinese philosophy. It is something that, Confucius would write about, like all of those, way, way, way back. Just this idea of having an essence to you. And I kind of thought, if I'm investigating this very fantastical idea of who are you in a kingdom, what can you do? What is your birthright? What are you born into? How do I mix that with these influences that I'm just very like intrigued by and want to build a magic system out of? So much of especially Kalla's storyline, without getting into any spoilers, is this examination of what it means to be born into royalty, to want to take down the monarchy, and whether it's even possible to do that by killing one person if there's a whole institution and system behind it. Which is why I'm really glad that Immortal Longings is a trilogy. It's not a single book, because I can't even begin to touch it in one book. This is definitely an arc that needs a series. And I couldn't do that without something like the invention of jumping. So a lot of that magic system came by virtue of the questions I wanted to ask out of the plot, and then the plot influenced the kind of like magic I wanted to bring in, how it would, build the world from there. A very vague answer.
It's interesting to explain to people. I was trying to explain it to my husband, and I was like, cyber cafes, but like walls and temples and villages outside, yes, but then body jumping, and yes, he was like, what? He's like, I'm just gonna have to.
Yeah. All the influences.
He's not gonna read it. He would get an audiobook and listen before he would physically
audiobook
read.
is great. I've heard it. It's great job, the narrator. Yeah.
Who did you get for the narrator?
It was Gina Yee, I believe.
Okay.
So we have a question that we always ask. This is where everything you've ever consumed, any media, just completely leaves your brain. We have a segment that we call Fictional Boyfriend of the Week. It doesn't have to be a boyfriend. It could be a girlfriend, non-binary friend, bestie. Karen's had a fictional granny. But do you have any fictional characters lately or of all time where you're like, that is mine, that you've read?
Okay, well,
or seen on TV. It could be TV, movie, whatever.
This isn't recent, but as a teenager, the series that got me into I think consuming media as a fan rather than a casual reader was The Mortal Instruments by Cassandra Clare. So Jace Herondale was like the OG book boyfriend. Like I had a Tumblr dedicated to him, which I recently showed my real boyfriend, and he was just clicking through pages and pages and pages of gifs of Jamie Kamabawa from the City of Bones movie. And he was like, I feel like I'm just learning so much about you. Like there were a lot of pages.
That is hilariously amazing.
That so much.
That is amazing.
And now all the TikToks of you going to Simon and Schuster and stealing James makes sense.
It makes sense, right?
It all makes sense now.
It all comes full circle.
I love that so much.
Yeah, that is hilarious.
Do you have any secrets that you can tell us about, what's coming next? Because the end of Immortal Longings, without spoilers, I think I literally threw the book and yelled, and my daughter looked at me like, what's wrong? I was like, Chloe again.
I love it. So that's exactly the reaction I want.
Any kind of like sneaky peeks. Like I felt like I kind of saw it coming, but then I didn't. Like the way that it just comes, it just punches you in the face. Like, oh yeah, this is gonna happen, and then it happens, and you're like, wait, what do you mean that happened?
That's what I love to hear, because I know that people have certain expectations given that it's book one of a trilogy. They're thinking like, well, that can't happen, but that did happen. But then is that happening? And then that happens. Yeah, so glad to hear
exactly what happened in my brain.
I'm glad to hear it. Secrets. Let me think. Well, I'm currently working on book 2, and I guess this qualifies as a secret. So the title for book 2 is actually, it's not revealed yet, but it is revealed. If people look really closely, book 2's title is it. Book 1 tells you, but you really have to like think on it. It's not in the text. I'll say that, but it's in book 1.
You're just gonna look at the book.
It'll all make sense. It'll all make sense when the title is revealed, and you'll be like, "Oh, that's what she meant."
Oh,
so
I'm excited. Yeah. Do you have a estimated pub date for that one?
It
Like,
should
how long
be
are you torturing us?
summer of next year or fall of next year, depending on what the production timeline looks like, but definitely latter half of 2024. I'm in the first round of revisions right now. I'm making it much more better because the first draft was terrible. That's just my writing process. I do it bad and then I'm like, okay, now we fix it.
I think that's how most authors that we've talked to, they're just like, get the first draft out, it's gonna be
Exactly.
crap, and then
Exactly.
fix it.
It has to be done. That's the
Mhm.
only
Yeah.
thing that it can't be.
That's fair. How's Mau Mau? How's the kitty?
He's great. He's so fluffy. He recently, so the last time I was back in New Zealand, he actually had to get shaved because he was licking his skin too much and he got like a little like injury on his skin. So all his fur got shaved and he looked like so naked. But his fur
Baby.
has grown back now and he's very fluffy.
Yay. I was
Yeah.
very excited
Baby.
when he showed up in the book. I was like, I knew you were
Yeah.
gonna be here, but like
Yeah.
also
The fact that he's in the book is so funny to me because there is absolutely no plot reason for him to be here. I just wanted a cat in there.
it's so chaotic, and I feel like the whole book, it's just it just adds to the chaos of the book itself.
Yeah.
And it's perfect, and I love it.
I just wanted to have fun with it, and if that was,
It's one
if
of
it
those
meant writing
things-
my Mau in, then so be it.
It's one of those things where it's like you don't expect a girl who could kill you with her pinky finger to
Right.
have like a cuddly little kitty that she loves.
Right. Mhm.
And it's perfect.
Exactly.
Okay, so I think we maybe have time for one or two more questions. We have another one that we always ask. We love your books. We love reading your books. What are you reading? What are you recommending to people?
Okay.
Or it
What
doesn't
did
even have to
I-
be what you're reading right now, but like, this is the best book I ever read. I love this book. This is great.
Well, I literally have this right next to me on the desk. Alone with You in the I almost just hit myself. Alone with You in the
Oh, that's
Ether
a
by
good
Olivia
one.
Blake. I love Olivia Blake. Like
Yeah.
her books are so good. Just her writing and the fact that her writing style shifts depending on what genre she does, and yet it's still so good every single time. I'm in awe. I love all of her books. They're so good.
I read that one recently. Yeah, that's a good one.
So good.
That's
Definitely.
on my list somewhere.
Somewhere.
There's a very
She just
long
has a
list.
tower that's her list.
Yeah,
I
there's
love it.
just-
I love it.
there's
Me
just-
too.
There's just not enough time in
Yeah.
the day,
No.
a lifetime to read
I
all
feel
the
that.
books that we want to read.
I really, really feel that.
So this is the part of the podcast or the interview where Mandy is going to not apologize. I'm going to
I'm
pretend
never
to
gonna be sorry.
apologize. But I'm really not sorry. But I regret to inform you that now that you have been on the podcast, you are
Mhm.
legally obligated to come back for every other book you release.
Love it.
I'm-
Of
you
course.
We don't make the rules. We just,
just
enforce them with our baseball
an-
bats.
That's
in
an
these hands.
easy rule to follow.
We just it's
Awesome.
what happened is you dropped your baseball bat on the way in, and so we took it.
Right.
now-
And that's
now
what
you got
happens
it.
when you bring a weapon anywhere. It gets
Yep.
turned back on you.
Exactly. You brought a baseball bat to a podcast fight.
Right.
Yeah.
It happens.
Right. And a ski mask.
And a ski mask. Yeah.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for coming and talking to us. This has been like insane.
Such a joy.
I can't believe it.
I
Thank you for having me. This was so much fun.
It's so much fun, and I can't wait for people to read Immortal Longings. And how are you feeling about finishing out Secret Shanghai? Like,
Crazy. I mean, I do feel very satisfied with it, I think. I'm very sad to lose my children because they're going to go off and do their own thing now. But I think it's the same satisfaction that parents have when they send their kids off to college. Like, oh, damn, they're really achieving things now.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about Hot Huntsman. It's like this conclusion it's exactly what I wanted it to be. And when I finished that like final pass of it, I was like, okay, we did it. Good. Stay right there. Stay right there.
Oh,
Yeah.
I can't wait. I got a copy of it and I can't wait to read it. I'm like, obviously I needed it for
Enjoy.
my shelf. It was
Right,
very
right.
important to complete the shelf. The
Yeah.
only one that I'm missing is the UK Immortal Longings because,
Ooh,
UK.
those are gorgeous.
They're so
The
pretty.
arcs.
They're all pretty. All of your books are pretty, but
Yeah.
Love it.
that's
Love
nothing new.
it.
So yeah, I guess that's it. That's our time with
Yeah.
you.
Okay.
But
We
thank you
so much
appreciate
for
so
you
much.
having me.
so much.
It was
Thank you
so
for
much
being here.
fun. And
And we will talk to you
we'll
soon.
talk to you soon.
Yes. I can't wait to hear this podcast. I'm excited. So
Thank you so
excited.
much. We'll
Of
talk
course,
to you
thank for
again
having me.
soon.
Yes.
Yay.
Okay.
Bye. Oh my God.
Oh my God. Karen, we talked to Chloe.
Did that just happen?
It
Did that
did.
really just happen? Did we just talk to Chloe Gong?
Yeah, I think we did.
Who
I don't
are
know.
we?
Now I'm not sure.
Was that a fever dream? I feel like it was a fever dream.
Maybe. I
What?
need to ask George Bailey if he saw her, but he's downstairs now.
Is that for real? Oh my God, that was so cool.
Surprise, everybody.
Surprise.
One of the things
Chloe
we've been
Gong.
teasing was Chloe Gong.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. This is so unreal.
What just happened?
Now what do I do with my life?
I don't know. Is this what peaking feels like? This we have peaked? No. We have so
No.
much more to come.
No, we have not peaked.
There's so much more exciting stuff to come.
I can't wait. Okay, after all of that, we just talked to Chloe freaking Gong.
Did we?
Now we have to do a
Is
spiel.
that a fever dream?
Now we have to do a boring spiel that we like do every week after
Yeah.
that. Anyways.
Anyways, if you enjoyed this episode, please like, follow, and subscribe wherever you are listening to us. Please also follow us on social media. We're on Instagram and TikTok at The Incoherent Fangirl and at Incoherent Girls on Twitter. I almost forgot what it was on Twitter because I hate Twitter.
Twitter's not that bad. Elon,
It's
you're the worst.
the worst. You can also like our Facebook page and then head on over to our website, theincoherentfangirl.com, where you can stream all of the episodes as well as read our blog, which has so many reviews on it. I cannot even count. Math is hard.
Ugh.
We're writers, not math people.
I'm a word person. We're word people, not
Exactly.
numbers people.
And then if you would like to see our beautiful faces, because we're super cute, guys.
Or Chloe's face.
She's so cute. I love her. You can subscribe to our Patreon. Go to the incoherentfangirl.com/Patreon. You'll get early access to all of our episodes as well as the videos to all of our episodes. So you can just enjoy the view. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or suggestions, you just want to tell us that we're pretty, we will accept all of that.
Accept compliments, yes.
Just send us an email, theincoherentfangirl@gmail.com. We love hearing from y'all. And finally, one last way to support the podcast, you can rate and review on whatever platform you're listening to us on. We would really appreciate that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that would be really great. She is at Mandy Perv on all the things.
And she's at Ms. Made in China on all the things.
And once you have followed us on social media, you followed the podcast on social media, maybe head on over, say hi to Chloe on social media, you can go visit our internet besties who we love beyond words. Head on over to herecomestenerd.com. You can use code FANGIRL to get 20% off your first order.
And then now we have something really freaking exciting. We both now have codes for Once Upon a Book Club, which we've loved for years. So once you've got all your Here Comes the Nerd goodies, head over to Once Upon a Book Club. Bleh, I butchered that. Head over to onceuponabookclub.com and either use code Karin10, make sure you spell Karin correctly with an I, or Mandy10, and either one will get you 10% off.
Yeah, and we promise neither of us will be offended if you choose the other. It's not a competition here.
No.
We're big fans of them regardless.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna want some tea to cozy up with all of your new goodies. You are gonna want to visit our friend Sam over at Entrancing Elixirs. It's the new name for Grimoire Tea. Go to entrancingelixirs.com. You're gonna use the code FANGIRLT for 10% off your order. But remember, there's no I in fangirl. It's FANGRLTEA.
And then we have our darling Amber D. Lewis, the Fire and Starlight Saga. I think a cover reveal just happened for the latest book. You're going to want to join her Facebook group, if I'm honest. Head to amberdlewis.com, use code FANGIRL10 for 10% off your purchase. Get the Fire and Starlight Saga, get all of the novellas, get everything now. Trust me.
Trust us, you are not going to want to miss out. And you should also go and support the show husband. Yay! We love them.
All right. So we have Searchers. Their website is searchersbelieve.com. And then we also have the podcast, The Paranormal Mind. They record episodes weekly. They release episodes weekly. They record them in batches. Head over to searchersbelieve.com and use code fangirl10 to get 10% off. I got a hookup. I know a guy. So
It's her. She's the guy.
yeah. So some really one of the other wives is taking over the merch. There are the coolest things coming. Like I am so excited for you guys. Like anybody who's into like paranormal or weirdness, spooky things, searchersbelieve.com, go shopping there. Keep an eye on the page though, because there will be some really cool things coming down the pipe for these guys. I'm really excited.
Speaking of exciting things, we also have a lot of exciting things coming down the pipeline.
Oh my gosh.
If y'all could see our emails and our texts from the past month, I'm losing my mind.
We've been on a break. We've not been on a break. Like we've been on a break, but like things are still
things are happening. It's so exciting, and we cannot wait to tell you all about it.
I used to hate when people on podcasts, whatever, would be like, "We have a secret. We can't tell you yet." And now
But
I see the other side of it.
There's
yes,
a reason we can't tell you.
There's a reason, or we would be screaming from our rooftops.
Absolutely would. We're not doing it to be mean. There's so much behind the scenes stuff, and
we're still working things out. But yeah, we are dying.
There's so much, and it's so exciting, and I can't wait. I'm gonna explode with how much excitement I have for this stuff.
All will be revealed in due time.
So soon, we promise. We promise.
And that was the
a very special episode of the Incoherent. Oh my god! I still can't believe. I can't believe.
I know I can't either.
It's not gonna sink in for a while. I don't think. But thank y'all for listening. We love you. Bye.
We are sponsored by our friends at Here Comes the Nerd. Pins, stickers, magnets, and more. Here Comes the Nerd has happy art for all fandom-loving hearts. New customers can use coupon code FANGIRL during checkout for 20% off their first order at herecomesthenerd.com. Coupon applies to ready-to-ship items only.